writing someone's name in incorrectly. And I don't mean like writing the wrong name in. I mean like, you didn't put a comma before junior. I mean, it was little tiny things we were hearing from FFLs, and it was just bonkers. We are the Armed Attorneys. Today we are talking about a sneaker win against the ATF. It is a policy change that only came to light from a defunct lawsuit. We just found out about this last week, but it's amazing news for any FFLs out there who don't want to go out of business. But before we get started, show your support for the Second Amendment by hitting the like button.
And this all started back in June 23rd, 2021, when the Biden administration, along with Merrick Garland, they announced they were going to crack down on gun law violators. They had a big press conference, lots of issues were addressed, but something to come out of it was a change in the way that the ATF viewed what was called a willful violation. And so we got all of our gun stores, our FFLs, they're out there, they're trying to make a living. And the Biden administration says, guess what? Instead of just a willful violation, which was like if you made like a real serious error, like you knew you transferred a gun to someone who is a prohibited person, and we'll have a few more examples. They started a zero tolerance policy where it's like clerical errors were considered willful violations of federal regulation, and therefore, hey, guess what? We're going to strip you of your federal firearms license. We're going to run you out of business. And we just got some kind of incredible news.
Right. So I guess let's talk first about the old ways.
Yeah.
Willful. Okay. So before 2021, before Biden issued this directive to the ATF that we have zero tolerance on, what is a willful violation. Willful violations, they were pretty serious things.
Yeah.
Like it was like, if you're doing these things, particularly routinely, you can't justify this exceptional circumstance. You probably shouldn't have an FFL. It's things like transferring without a background check, transferring to unlawful persons, refusing to respond to ATF trace requests, falsifying records, refusing to allow inspections, which of course is a condition of your license. Like, yeah, those are pretty big violations. You understand why you would be brought to task for those things. But what the Biden administration did in 2021 is say, any violation is treated as willful, and we're going to try to yank your license. And by the way, when they want to yank your license is gone. I mean, the ATF is literally judge and jury on this thing, right? Like they're the prosecutor, they're the judge and the jury, and they will take your license away.
Yeah, essentially the authority that you're appealing to has already made the decision, so it's like...
Yeah. Well, the arbiter of the facts is the ATF.
Right.
I mean, it is the government, so it's like...
Well, and then we just have the practical side of it. All right, so you don't get the way you want in one of these FFL revocation hearings. Well, guess what? You have a right to sue the government in federal district court and spend tens of thousands of dollars to try to preserve your license.
Sure.
A lot of these mom and pop shops, they call calf rope. They say, all right, we'll wind it down. We can't spend $500,000 or whatever defending our federal firearms license. And they knew that the process was the punishment, and they were, they didn't really care how they got there. They were accomplishing their goal. The ATF was really out of control. So we heard some examples of what used to be considered a willful violation. And I think we can all agree, Harriet, maybe we don't like gun laws, but in the big scheme of things, all right, those seem to be kind of black and white examples of, we granted you a license. If you do this, we're going to take your license away. Well, they changed that and just said pretty much any clerical error on any piece of paperwork was considered willful violation. And I mean, we've both seen some really crazy examples of this.
Oh yeah, I mean, you hear FFLs talking about how the driver's license didn't spell out the word, like you live on Circle, blah 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 Circle, and your driver's license says CIR, and they write out Circle on the form.
That's a willful violation.
Willful violation.
Or the other one that has I don't know. This came up a lot. It would say county, and people would always write USA. They considered that a willful violation.
Right. Or I mean, even like writing someone's name in incorrectly. And I don't mean like writing the wrong name in. I mean like, you didn't put a comma before junior. I mean, it was little tiny things we were hearing from FFLs, and it was just bonkers. But the ATF under the Biden administration had a very good reason for this zero tolerance policy.
Yeah, and that reason was, hey, guess what? If you run an FFL out of business, well, they have to turn over all of their records to the ATF.
Also a Biden administration policy.
Yeah, so, and, what used to happen is FFLs were only required to keep records for 20 years. Well, guess what? Another Biden administration change. They're going to keep you, if you had sales taking place beyond, it was after the, was it the same piece of legislation or was it the bipartisan safer
I don't
communities
remember
act?
if it was BIPOC or if it was,
I
yeah.
can't remember which one it was, but it was about the same time. Hey, guess what? Now, if you have a transfer, you have to maintain that record forever.
Forever.
Add that with the we're running you out of business. That sounds like
Yeah.
a gun registry.
That sounds like a really good way to make a gun registry. If we have the total authority to yank your license and make you go out of business, and the second you go out of business, you owe us all of the records for every gun sale you have ever made, what? If you're trying to make a registry, that's a really good way to make a registry, right?
Yeah, and we'll throw this chart up there just to show some numbers, and then we're going to talk about this incredible reversal. But you see, all right, first year of the Biden administration, you saw 34 FFL revocations, 22, it jumps up incredibly, 252, 2023, 407, 2024, nearly 400 with 394. I mean, you see this gigantic influx of running. I mean, each one of these numbers is a gun dealer who got put out of business.
Right. I mean, you can see on the right side of the column how many people didn't get their licenses taken away, how many people actually had, exceptional circumstances, and it is very, very few. So they ramped up how many gun stores they were shutting down by the hundreds every year after this policy was implemented. And for the most part, gun stores who really, really did not deserve to be shut down. Probably gun stores who it's the only gun store in a given community. And now you've got people driving incredible distances to try to find something that they need to buy. I mean, really, it was a miscarriage of justice that we now know 5 months after the fact has been reversed, because that's the weirdest part, is that this hasn't been policy for months now, but nobody knew.
Yeah, so this actually, they went back and added clarification. Read, all right, we gotta fix ourselves, or else we're gonna get sued out of existence and maybe get a precedent that we don't want. So they clarified what willful meant, and I mean, from what we can tell, it seems like this zero tolerance policy has gone away.
Right. And this happened in August of 2024. No one knew. So what happened? Good old Michael Cargill
Of Michael Cargill, bump stock fame,
of
Supreme
bump
Court.
stock fame filed a lawsuit that was tangential to this policy. They got this document, this change in their discovery, which booted the lawsuit.
Yeah, so in January 16th, Cargill, they voluntarily dismissed their own lawsuit because guess what? It would be an issue of standing if you're saying, hey, this policy violates the law and that policy doesn't exist anymore. You're going to get poured out. So it seems that this clarification, read SmackDown, has been reversed and we're going back to almost, I won't say normal, but it's not zero tolerance.
It's not zero tolerance. When the headline came up that this policy had been reversed, I said to myself, Donald Trump signed an executive order.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I would fill in those gaps. Yeah.
And that is not at all what happened here. But given that we now have a Trump White House, hopefully we will have a very different ATF than we've had over the last 4 years. Perhaps we have one who actually keeps us safe from, I don't know, like the gun smugglers and cartels and the things that they're supposed to be doing, and leaves the American people alone with their Second Amendment.
Yeah.
Leave me and my Second Amendment alone.
Leave me and my Second Amendment alone.
That'd be great. We'll see. We'll see about it, but I'm optimistic.
Yeah. And, as far as ATF confirmations go, what is that agency going to look like? I mean, I'm hearing lots of rumblings. I was just up in D.C. for the inauguration. It sounds like change is a coming.
I would hope so, but it doesn't seem he has hit the ground running this time. But I don't hear much on the ATF early here. There are other priorities. I understand.
We'll see.
But I'm ready.
But you got to stick around to hear about it. But we hope you enjoyed this discussion. If you did, consider subscribing, hitting that like button, and help us fight the anti-2A algorithm by sharing this video.
And please question and comment for us below. Until next time, we're the Arms Trades.